Outsourcing tends to have a bad reputation as being low quality. Partner Hero's value-based approach raises the bar for the outsourcing industry by investing in employee empowerment and career growth, paying above-market salaries, and maintaining a focus on quality and performance. They're more than a service provider. They're also a thought partner for the startups they serve. It's simple. Brands that care about quality customer experience choose Partner Hero. They offer flexible terms and the ability to scale quickly, perfect for startups, with quality assurance baked into every program and offices around the world. So Partner Hero can provide truly global coverage. Outsourcing has long been available mainly to big businesses, but Partner Hero is challenging business as usual by bringing the benefits of outsourcing to businesses of all sizes with short, flexible contracts and fast ramp-up times. 10 years ago, when we were launching the Action Catalyst, we could have used a few extra hands to help us scale quickly, even if it was just for a short while. You can bet that with their expertise, fast onboarding, and core focus on quality, Partner Hero would have had our attention. If you're ready to bring in outside customer support help for your startup that feels like it's a part of an existing team, check out Partner Hero. Head over to partnerhero.com/Action Catalyst to book a free consultation with our solutions team. Mention you heard about Partner Hero from the Action Catalyst, and they'll even waive the setup fee. Now, on to the show.
Southwestern Family of Companies welcomes you to the Action Catalyst. Each week, our diversely and amazingly accomplished guests share their insights and inspirations to help us ignite our own. So let's invest attention together to breathe, to reflect and refocus, and decisively defeat that voice we call Mr. Mediocrity. Then let's enjoy moving forward to make a positive difference in our world.
Are you interested in advertising with the Action Catalyst? Our listeners could be hearing about your brand right here, right now. For details, shoot us an email at info@theactioncatalyst.com.
Welcome to the Action Catalyst. This is Dan Moore, and today I am delighted to have as our guest Mr. Michael McMillan. Michael is multifaceted in his success. He is an award-winning designer, he's a best-selling author, a sought-after public speaker, and a business consultant. It's interesting because many people can design and create beautiful things, and Michael has been recognized for that. But he's also been recognized because his work leads to real bottom-line results, and those are things that clients, partners, and stakeholders truly, truly appreciate. Among his many achievements, he provided the creative direction on Michael Jordan's pictorial autobiography called Rare Air, which established a brand new niche in retail publishing. Several more top sports performers, including Mario Andretti, have also utilized Michael's abilities to carry them forward in a fantastic way. As a speaker, he's sought after on several continents. In fact, he was invited to Dubai when the United Arab Emirates launched its National Innovation Initiative to share his thoughts with the investors and the entrepreneurs and leaders of the UAE. His current books include Paper Airplane, A Lesson for Flying Outside the Box, The Power of Teamwork, which he co-authored with the Blue Angel Scott Bair, and Pink Bat, How to Turn Problems into Solutions. Interestingly, Michael has also worked in the C-suite. He was recruited to be the Chief Marketing and Branding Officer for a Fortune 1000 financial firm. He was charged with creating the brand and did everything about that, carrying the share price from $46 a share to well over $100 in just 3 years' time, and the company was sold for more than $4 billion. Michael, you're highly accomplished, and we are very delighted to have you on the Action Catalyst.
Thank you, Dan. I'm glad to be here.
Well, many of our listeners are in the early stages of directing their own lives and their own careers, and they're always interested in beginnings. Can you share how you got started with design and how that led you into the other aspects of your life?
Okay, well, that's going to start back a little deeper probably than a business career. When I was in school as a grade school kid, I went from being a really bright, exceptionally incredible, gifted kid from kindergarten, starting moving into first grade, to what in the heck has happened to this guy? He marches to his own beat. He does what he wants to do when he wants to do it, kind of a thing. And I was either a misunderstood kid or, kind of kid that you better not hang around with him because he's a different kind of a kid, or whatever the case may be. But what actually happened is I have dyslexia, and so I say learning differences, and those went undiagnosed for my my grade school days and into my high school. And when I was a sophomore in college, I took a speed reading class because I just wanted to improve my speed reading. And it became clear that I had very stereotypical dyslexic tendencies. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I walked through the art department one day, and I saw this display on the wall, and there was almost kind of that gestalt. Everything came together at one time. Wow, this is what I'm good at. This is what I want to do, and I just happened to be so fortunate to go to a school that had the descendants, the disciples, I guess you could say, of the original Bauhaus people that came from Germany to Chicago. And my professor studied directly with them and started another design school. And it just all kind of clicked. It just made sense to me, even including the way I learned. Establishing, Bauhaus is all about elimination of all non-essentials, form follows function, having an understanding of hierarchies. And by studying that, I found that my capacity to learn and to execute was escalating at a tremendous rate just because of the way it presented information in understanding in a visual communication sense of the way. So that's kind of a long way around answering your question, but it was almost one of those things that I was searching for. What am I going to do in this world? And all of a sudden I came across this subject that I didn't know even existed. And at the time, quite frankly, was considered somewhat of an esoteric subject matter to study. Today, of course, good designers are really in demand everywhere for every kind of design, whether it's product design, user interface design. Design has come to, and I think largely because of Apple's contribution to the business world and to its consumers. They put design. Steve Jobs put design front and center at Apple, and I think people realize the importance of design. And so it's an interesting. It's interesting how certain things come together like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, from that, what steps led you to this amazing clientele that you've designed work for example, Michael Jordan?
Well, one of the things I didn't say, and this is, I guess you could say, inspirational component of my story, is that when I tell people when I'm speaking that I quit school in second grade, more or less, they all kind of laugh and think it's funny, and it's not true. I obviously continued to keep going, but I did graduate first in my college class. And from there, because of the program, I think that they accepted 240 kids, and then we ended up graduating 30 kids after the program had ended. It was very competitive. Wow. So I was hired. I was hired by a small design firm in Chicago. It was a startup. The founder had left a very prominent design firm, and I worked there for a few months. And then I found out that we were about to have our second child in 9 months, and we needed more money. And I was working around the clock, which is pretty common for this industry when you first get out of school, certainly. And so I took a job at another firm to make more money, honestly. That was the motivation. And I concluded after a month of being there that I was incredibly unhappy. And the thinking, the philosophy of the business didn't really align with what I believed was important. So my wife and I started a company, believing, since we had absolutely nothing to lose other than college debt, that, hey, this is a great time to start a company. So we borrowed $5,000 from a family member with the agreement we pay it back in 6 months. And we were pretty naive about business. We just went out and started meeting with people and, calling clients, calling up customers, calling up businesses, talking to marketing department, marketing departments and different folks. I'd like to say that there was a far more sophisticated science to our approach, but there wasn't. It was like, roll up our sleeves, let's start working. And once people started working with us, they were very impressed with what we did. And one thing led to another. We just kept going and getting more and more people contacting us. I mean, we also were marketing, to specific firms. We were very focused on the kind of companies that we wanted to work with. We wanted to work with high-profile, successful organizations that placed quality at the top of their list, and we just found that there was a good alignment, and it just kept growing. It's a strange thing how before you have any, you have all this ability. And you have but you're lacking the experience. And once you're able to put a few things in place, and then people see what you do and who you're doing it for, suddenly you become, a lot more of a hot commodity, or however you want to state that. But that's really the story. There isn't any kind of anything beyond that. We never had more than 25 people. That was our plan. We just, rather than grow a large organization, we just kept 25 top-notch, world-class professionals. And so when people like Dow Chemical Company and large corporations would say, "Hey, listen, we really would like to work with you," or we'd like to talk to you about positioning, helping us position certain things, our company, or annual report, they'd come to our office and be shocked, like, okay, is there another building? Like, where are the rest of the band? Where there has to be more than 25 people, how do you do all this stuff? And we did it because we really, truly recruited great people, and we empowered them, and we helped them grow, and they were a part of the company. They were like our family. And that's how we did it. And when you have that kind of a team, I've run much, much larger teams that I inherited that couldn't put out, a tenth of what we put out. So it really is about having the right people in the right places, doing the right things. And that's what creates synergy. And in any organization, that experiences the kind of growth and the kind of success that we experienced understands the importance of synergy.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great insight, too, Michael, when you said that not only were they great people, but you empowered them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know when to let go and let somebody just run, knowing that it's your name on the bottom line of the results that they generate?
That's a really good question. I think that there has to be a mutual, there's a mutual courting period whenever you go to work for someone or someone comes to work for you, where there's an understanding, an unspoken understanding that you need to kind of prove to one another that you should earn one another's respect and trust. And at some point, some people are much faster at that, at doing that. Other people are, they take a little bit more time. But ultimately, as a leader of the organization, we did monitor things very closely until we realized, like, okay, we're in alignment. We're philosophically in alignment, and it's time to stop being such a micromanager and let people have the power to do what they need to do. But it's something that you earn, and I feel very strongly about that. No matter where you go, you should really earn the right to have the power that you have within the organization, and then it's up to the leader to provide that opportunity.
Well, a lot of very strong, creative people just can't let go.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to figure that out, and that's a great insight.
And I'd be kidding you to say that it's easy for me to let go. It's not easy, but I also recognize that there are that A, that's the only way you can really grow, and B, there are people that have better ideas than I do, and trying to find people that have unique skills and that are smarter, are better than you are. That's the key to building a great organization.
Well, it takes the right kind of humility to come to that realization, though. Mm-hmm. Not everybody that's talented believes anybody else has anything they can teach them. So Well done.
Yeah.
Now, you grew your design firm for 20 years,
Yes.
consecutive years of growth, and then sold it.
Mm-hmm.
What was the motivator to move into sharing your thoughts about innovation, making positive change as a speaker, a writer, a seminar leader, etc.?
I think that both my wife and I, Anne, who is also responsible for me going to school and going to college and doing the things, and that's something that maybe we can talk about at some point. Finding, we can get to the idea of like the people that you surround yourself with, and some of the catalysts that make things happen. But after 20 years of raising 3 kids, building the company, and making our family our priority, which is one of the other reasons why we wanted to have a company, so that we could, in fact, if we needed to do all-nighters, so that we could be, at a school play or a baseball game, we were there. But we had just reached this point where we were getting pretty tired, and said, should we bring the company public? We talked to a lot of different people, and we ended up selling it to the employees, one of the employees, and then it kind of, with the idea that all the employees would stay on, and it was a great concept, and it worked out pretty well. And then, meanwhile, I'd written Paper Airplane, and it was doing very well without any marketing, just word of mouth. And I got a call from a couple of speaker bureaus saying that, hey, listen, we would like to represent you. And I said, okay, represent me doing what? And they said, no, we'd like you to come. And, we've had a lot of people who have been interested in wanting you to, come and speak to at their event. So I thought, well, hey, what the heck? It sounds like a great challenge. And I started doing it. And I eventually, had a speaker bureau that I became, a part of their, they represent me. And I started getting a real joy out of sharing just little insights and understanding that you develop over the years and that you understand, and really being able to have a positive impact on people's lives. That's the motivation. And so it's both fun and it's challenging, because talking about creativity and innovation is a very abstract concept. It falls into, kind of seems like it falls into one or two ends of the spectrum. Either, oh, that's really nice, they're very creative, meaning they're not very good in accounting or finance or something, or it means it can become so sophisticated, so complex, and so philosophically deep that it's really hard to have a conversation. So I work towards coming from that end and bringing it into a simplified visual understanding of how we create, how we think. And it really helps people a great deal, because they start seeing where they're at on the spectrum. And once you understand where you're at, a lot of people will say that they're not creative, but everyone's creative. It's just innate. It's who we are as human beings. We are creators. And, but people have stopped believing in that, or they've just taken it for granted because, hey, we can solve this problem. We'll figure it out. We'll create, but they don't really think about, oh, wow, look, something doesn't exist, so we're going to make it exist. We just take it for granted. Other people realize, like, wow, that's the most powerful asset that we have. And along the way, people will either start saying, look, I'm just this really creative person. And in some cases they are, but they don't seem to be getting anywhere. How come I'm not getting anywhere? And I like, in my visual, I show that there's a circle around the box. And if we work within that circle, that's our circle of change. If we're outside of the circle, we're too far to expand the box. And in order for an idea to work, it has to operate inside the box, right? That's our reality. That's our accepted beliefs. And if it doesn't work within there, it just simply doesn't work. So some people realize, like, oh, I need to get closer to the box. That's my problem. Other people realize, I'm stuck in the box. But you know what? I think I can work to that circle. I really believe I can. And so it's, that's very fulfilling to go out and speak and have people have these aha moments when they start seeing where they maybe gone off course a little bit, or what they can do just to make some changes in their lives in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like a big part of that, though, is reinstilling the belief in people that they are, in fact, creative.
Yes.
Because such a negative comment, it's not an affirmation at all. It's a negation when people say, oh, I admire your creativity. I wish I were creative. When the reality is everybody example I like to use is when you're caught doing something you weren't supposed to be doing, how quickly you come up with an amazingly believable story.
There you go. And that's a great example. If we get put in a situation, suddenly we are ideating, if you will, like crazy. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And you have like 15 possibilities just because, your mind's racing because you need to have an answer. And that's just such a strong human trait. And unfortunately, it's so often it's just taken for granted. And, I was invited to, Ohio State to speak about, it was a large academic, gathering, and they were talking about STEM, the STEM program.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was, should it be STEAM? Should we add an A for art? And so they wanted me to speak about. And by the way, if that's really what design is, if you want to say STEAM, but I said one of the issues with doing that, and this is a philosophical perspective on creativity, but all the subjects that we study have been created. And so to try to put creativity in just as a byproduct or as a chapter or a category, it doesn't work that way. Creativity is at the foundation of everything. It's what keeps things alive. It's what keeps things alive. It's what created them to begin with. And so it's not something that you can actually break out. It's the glue. It's the magic that happens to every subject that we get involved with. What's what you're doing right now? You don't know what this conversation is going to be, but you want to get messages out. And how can I do that? How can I reach people? How can I make this happen? And in the moment, we're creating these conversations, and they're having an impact on the people that listen to them. And so, that where is that? What category does that go into? It's at the really at the center, or the umbrella, the core of pretty much everything that happens.
Mm-hmm. So creativity is not an option like a better stereo system. Creativity is actually the vehicle that causes everything to work anyway.
Correct.
That's inspiring.
Yeah.
Now, a moment ago, you made the comment that people that we surround ourselves with are incredibly important in the decision making and the shifts in our careers and in our lives. Mm-hmm. I'd love it if you could expand on that.
So I'll start out with my whenever I speak at educational events, I always share the story, because the little kid in the book, Paper Airplane, Jeff, I use a third person to I tell the story through another voice, another person. But when you're struggling in school and you have learning differences, like on one hand, it's like I would be called in and I would have lectures like, he's the smartest kid in the class. He understands things that the other kids aren't even close to understanding. But you know what? Then he does this. Then he does that. And you get very confused because it's the first time you're going through life. You're trying to put the pieces together. And so by the time I became a senior in high school, I pretty much had decided college wasn't for me on any level. And I don't know where my plan was ride my Harley Davidson to California. Now, what was I going to do? Why was I going to do it? I didn't have a plan. That just seemed to be like a logical thing at 17 years old. And so it was coming around for prom, and so my buddies and I were sitting around. They said, "Hey, we should go to prom. We didn't go to prom last year. We should go to prom." And so I pulled the yearbook off the shelf, and I started going through, and I saw this beautiful young woman, and I said, "Hey, do you guys know her? Do you know Anne?" And they said, they started laughing, and they go, "Yeah, she's in National Honor Society. She's really, she's really, really smart. She's off the charts, So yeah, I think she's real. I really like her. I'm going to ask her to go to prom." And these guys really thought it was funny, like, okay, you guys come from totally different worlds. But anyway, I asked her, and we went, and we really hit it off. And Anne is my wife now, and she said to me, "Where are you going to go to college? You're one of the smartest people I've ever met." And I didn't know how to even tell her that I was so not qualified to go to college. So through just conversations and starting at a junior college, because I really wasn't ready to go to school, I hyper-focused on being successful in education and in academia. And I did very well, as I mentioned previously. I graduated first in my class in a very competitive program from a respected 4-year school. And what you start realizing is that we all have these gaps or these shortcomings. We all do. Likewise, we all have strengths. And by the time, if we start buying into our shortcomings, we stop forgetting about our strengths. And our identity becomes part of that shortcoming. I think that Marcus Buckingham gives an example of, a kid comes home with, an A, 2 B's, a C, and an F or something like that. And what do the parents focus on? They focus on the F. And not that you should ignore the F, but maybe it's art or it's accounting or, math or something. And maybe the person's never going to be a great mathematician or an artist or something. But maybe they can just bring it up to an acceptable level, like an average level. Because by doing that, that A and B's, those things are who they are. That's what they really love. That's their passion. And if they can engage in that and really do well, then these other things won't hold them back. But unfortunately, I see oftentimes where the identity of people become tied up in their weaknesses. And then they surround themselves with people with similar weaknesses or who maybe even hold them down because of those weaknesses, as opposed to finding people that A, respect you, and respect the things that you can do that they can't do, and you respect the things that they can do that you can't do very well. And you that's who you surround yourself with. And by doing that all the time, it's a win-win. And it starts becoming like a win-win-win-win because everybody's benefiting from the strengths and weaknesses of one another. And there's a mutual respect. And that's really what I consider diversity too. I think so often, in the conversations of diversity, we get confused about that. It's really about strengths and weaknesses and finding people that work together, that complement one another and can create, for their collective efforts, make something far greater than the individual efforts.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Find people who respect you, because that is such a fundamental part of our own self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And when our self-esteem has been battered by societal conventions, sometimes we can't pay attention to the talents we do have.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And Anne was able to help elicit that from you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's marvelous and well done on that. Prom invitation. Took some guts.
Well, I like to point out too that I hope that I contributed in some way to her as well. And she,
I suspect there's no question about that.
Yeah.
All great relationships go both ways.
That's right.
And I think it's fantastic. Well, on a slightly different tack, but I think you're getting some great info on this. What about when you hit a brick wall in the course of your career, something that is unanticipated, you can't see around it or over it, not sure you can ever get through it. It could be money has suddenly run out, a major customer has dropped you, a key person on your staff suddenly quits, technological change, these bumps in the road that are so severe, a curveball coming at you so fast it's going to hit you right in the eyes. What is your basic mindset when you're facing one of these brick walls or strategies that you found?
I think first and foremost is that I have a very strong set of personal principles or values that I'll never violate. And I say never. I say never say never. I say when it comes to your values and the principles that you live by, that you can never violate those. So staying true to those, and then let's say that something shifts in the environment, something unexpected, a competitor comes in, so whatever the case may be. A lot of times people will jump ship on their values. They'll start like moving into some kind of surface thing that they don't understand. And even if they have partial success at that time, they usually find themselves, being confused because they no longer know who they are. So I think it's like identifying who you are and what you're about, and just continuing to look at things from multiple perspectives. That's where having, being surrounded by, unique people with different perspectives comes in too. So, it's like, okay, guys, here's what we have. This is a reality of the situation. And so you start listing, the things that, what could go wrong? What could we do? What else? This is our problem. Whose solution is this? this has to be someone's solution. We keep labeling it a problem. And I spend a lot of time talking about that too. That one of my books, Pink Bat, Turning Problems into Solutions. It's really about, so often we label things as a problem and then it becomes a problem. So we're out trying to find a solution to this problem. When in fact that maybe we just need to reframe the way we even think about it. And it's not a problem at all. We suffer from what's called perceptual blindness. And I'll demonstrate that to audiences, that we all experience perceptual blindness. And people think it's, they find it intriguing because of the visuals that I use. And then during the Q&A, they'll say, but how do you fix that? How do you get, what do you have to do to get past that, or make it better? I said, well, you never do. It's a part of being human. We have perceptual blindness. We focus on the things, when we're focusing on one thing, we can't see the other thing. Okay? We miss the opportunities around us because we're so hyper-focused. And sometimes the things that we're focused on, we call problems. And we are so embedded and so engaged in that problem that it's hard to see all the opportunities that are circling it. Likewise, when we need focus, we have all these things circling around. We need to get in our box, as the Blue Angels say. We do need to have that discipline of perceptual blindness. You don't want to have as a Blue Angel, you don't want to be flying at each other at a cumulative speed of 1,000 miles an hour and be starting to think about, did I shut the water off downstairs? I want, So you need to, but the point is that we have this. And so when we come to these points in our lives where it seems like there's no way out, first of all, we try not to put ourselves in those positions. And I think going back to our principles, if we live those, we don't get caught up in temporary fixes and quick fixes. We're living a very different kind of life that typically avoids those things. But when we do, we just need to step back and say, again, is this really a problem? And some people will say, you say that, and I get the concept, but, and then they'll tell me something about their lives, or they'll say, now that's a problem. And one person told me one time they had a child that had a lot of difficulties and a lot of issues, and she came up to me after a speech and said, you're motivating, and I really love what you say, but quite frankly, how would you call this a solution? And she started telling me about her son, and there were a lot of issues that she was contending with as a mother. And I said, I don't know right now, but I do know that because of this experience what I don't know. And I know that every experience we go through and every time we're placed in some challenging situation, that if we stay focused and we understand what's going on, we're expanding our understanding. And through that, maybe the answer is this: you're going to start a foundation, or you're going to start something that's going to help other people that are in your place. I don't know how to do that because I'm not in your place. You do. So the solution, while it's not here's here's the jackpot, we hit, that kind of, and that does happen in business a lot of times. But in this case, it's like the gift is you're gaining a tremendous capacity and understanding to see people and understand what they may be going through. And you can find things that can help them. And by helping them, you're helping yourself. And your son was responsible for all this. He was the solution. You're the catalyst.
That is incredibly inspirational. I'm pulling personal benefit from what you just said, Michael, so thank you for that. Some 60 years ago, Napoleon Hill wrote that in every adversity is the seed of an equal or greater benefit.
I agree with that.
And it sounds like you've lived that over and over.
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself on the grow?
Mm-hmm.
You're obviously very skilled at enabling others and sharing ideas with others, but what do you do to avoid this voice that we often call Mr. Mediocrity, the temptation to just want to coast and kind of take it easy and surf a bit? How do you keep growing?
Okay. I have an insatiable curiosity, and I don't know how else to explain that, to the point where I drive people nuts oftentimes, because I seriously am interested in almost everything, to the point where I sometimes at night, I'll turn on a YouTube lecture and I'm exhausted, but I feel like I need to know this. I need to understand. I need to learn, Richard Feynman's, like lecture on something about physics, I am driven to learn and know and understand. I'm always seeking truth and I'm always seeking deeper understanding. Why are we here? What does this mean? Well, if I learn this, will this make a connection in my brain to help me understand a bigger picture that I'm not seeing right now? So I really don't, I don't know how else to say it, but I don't struggle with that kind of thing. And I never really have. I guess that I've always been very cognizant of death, and I know that I'm going to die. We're all going to die. And I don't want to waste the time that I'm here being, not doing something and not being productive in some way. As a little kid, my parents, after Sunday school one time, I get in the car and they said, okay, I could tell something was up because I had an older brother and sister, 5 and 8 years older than me. And I said, well, where are my siblings at, right? And they didn't answer for a while. Well, they gave me some kind of like parent, response that I knew something was up. And the next thing you know, we're on our way to Wisconsin. And then I'm told, and your swimming trunks are in the back and you can ride them. And I realized this is going to be a horrible day. I'm going to be trapped with all these adults and I'm a little kid and I didn't want to go. Please let me stay at home. No, you have to come on. So we ended up getting to Wisconsin. I was promised, they have a mini bike. You can ride the mini bike. And the mini bike didn't work. All right. So then I was even more, being pouty. And so I can't swim. I couldn't swim. And so I sat by a tree. And one of the women, there were a few couples there, and one of the women came over and said, don't you want to go swimming? And I said, no, thank you. And they go, well, you just want to sit here? It's so hot. I said, yeah, that's fine. So I sat there for, I don't know, a couple hours probably. Just sat there, watching the ants and just sitting there because I was going to prove to people that, prove to my parents, like, see, I'm just going to sit here then. I didn't want to come, kind of a thing. And then one of the women came over and said, hey, there's inner tubes in the little shed over there. You should try jumping and floating on the inner tubes. Now, that woman probably realized, like, there's some reason that this kid isn't going in the pool, and maybe he can't swim. So I went and got one of the inner tubes, jumped off the diving board. And I'm telling you, it was like one of the most fun times being by myself in this pool doing stuff. And I just got started. And it's like, we're going. Time to go now. It's time to go. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. I sat there for 2 hours or whatever. And then I got these inner tubes and I was having a blast. It's time to go. And I just saw that as like a strange metaphor towards life. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to find an inner tube, at some point and say, how come I didn't try that earlier? What was I sitting by the tree pouting about? That's what people do sometimes in life. I think, we tend to sit by the tree and pout to prove something. And we're just hurting ourselves and we're missing out on a whole bunch of fun along the way. And so I think about life in metaphor a lot. And I think that it's those lessons like that in our younger childhood that really, so often, we talk about like business experiences, but when we understand those things that are in our childhood, it's hard to, I think about some of the challenges that I overcame as a kid, and then you're in business and you're dealing with, somebody who's very difficult, or they're, attempting to be real intimidating, or, whatever the situation may be. And you just think like, I get what's going on here, but it's not even close compared to like third grade when, when this happened. It was, third grade was far more devastating than this CEO, trying to intimidate people. And so, I think we just learn from life. We learn from living. And the more we drink it in and absorb it, the more meaningful it is, the greater our understanding is. So I don't struggle with falling into mediocrity. I just, or kind of like just accepting things. I also, you brought up earlier on, is it difficult to let go? I do fight perfectionism. Quite frankly, I find mediocrity repulsive, and it irritates me. I'm helping my son right now. He bought a house, and the former owner misrepresented a lot of things, and we found out that the infrastructure needs a lot of work. And so I told him that I would help him do it. And as I'm working on it, I really take the great pleasure out of working with my son. It's fun. We're working together. We're talking about it. It's a great experience. But I also look at the people who did this work. It's substandard. It's just those types of things. It's the infrastructure and it's the underlying foundation of things that need to be done right. And when they're done really at a high quality level, the other stuff starts manifesting. And when they're done in a sloppy fashion, you're always fighting it. You're always trying to fix and, make things happen just because they weren't done right initially.
Mm-hmm. Michael, I'm inspired. I want to thank you so much for what you've shared. The way your mind works, I find fascinating. I love the things that you said, in particular, one in just a moment ago. We learn from life. We learn from living, provided that we're willing to do so. And that is a phenomenal lesson for our listeners and for me personally.
Thanks, Dan. I enjoy your show, and thanks. It's an honor to have you invite me to be a guest.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. To stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast and Twitter at Catalyst_Action. Thanks for listening.